we go. All right. All right. Yes, indeedy. How are we looking? How's everything going? Yeah. Oh, we've got a shadow problem. We have a shadow. We have a shadow right here. You know what the shadow's from? Yep, I do. It's from the microphone. Let's see if we can move that. If we tilt it back a little bit and bring it down. Well, that's not obtrusive at all, is it? What if we tilt it up? Can we tilt that? Yeah. Okay. We need to swing it around. About right there. How about that? The shadow is now gone. Sound. He can hear sound. Oh my goodness. Well, I can too. Well, I mean, because I have ears. Yeah. Yep, let's see. So Rich is here, Daniel's here. Living Water CVA from Chesapeake, Virginia. One of my favorite places. That whole Chesapeake area, Chesapeake Bay area. Yep. So, yeah, Rich, today we're going to be talking about sound, audio, or how we do audio. At least how we do a portion of the audio. I am not a big believer in lapel mics or, ear-worn mics. It just doesn't do it for me. It just doesn't do it for me. That was a fitting comment. Oh, I get it. Yes, it was a fitting comment. Yeah, but I don't want to get into that because that's what we're going to talk about in the show today. I don't want to get into that. What do I want to talk about? We've got a few minutes here. Did you know that if you are scheduling a Facebook live stream and you want to go in and modify it for some reason, you can't do that if it's less than I think 10 minutes before the live stream. I was going in to put a photo as part of because vMix will allow you to schedule the live stream in Facebook, either a group or a page. But vMix doesn't allow you to put the picture in there. You have to do that through Facebook. So I went in to do that. Well, I put it off for a few minutes. And by the time I did, it was 25 till 3. Well, I had scheduled the Facebook to kick off at 4 till 3. But it wouldn't allow me to save it because it was less than 10 minutes until start time. So I had to push the start time to the Facebook stream back to 2:50, which is in about 2 minutes, which is not a problem. Anyway, so Rich says, so the persistent YouTube key configuration have all changed for my channels except one. Really? That's odd. They haven't changed for mine. I was like, well, maybe they have, but then how could you see this video? And I spot checked it a few minutes ago. No. Well, I'm sorry. It's a little tricky because they want you to have these kind of like profile things. There's Dave. Hey, Dave, it's not odd. It's just Facebook. That's right. They can do whatever they want. And YouTube's the same way. They can just make a change. Hey, Dean, glad to have you. Good to see you. Dean, did I talk with you about loaning you a bird dog PTZ camera to just play with at the church? If I did, let me know. I think I remember I was talking about that, and I had one out on loan that was took a little longer to get back than I anticipated. Yeah, they just released new firmware, or at least beta firmware, for the P100 and the P200. I guess maybe yesterday, because they'd had a big release last week of firmware that allowed all these cool features. And then they found out, they found out that something broke. Hey, Jim. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. I am back on Lemonade officially today, and actually have been for the last couple of days. And I would proclaim that I am fully healed. Dean says no, but it's a good idea. Well, good. Okay. RJ has got my loaner right now for a gig this weekend, because he wanted to test it out too. So, whoops. Thanks for the call, because that reminded me that I need to turn down my phone. There we go. Hello, Frank B. Hello, Tom. Will vMix support the new M1 chip? I don't know. What's an M1 chip? And is it important? And is it does it do things? And is it expensive? I mean, you know, I know what an M.2 is. I don't know what an M1 is. M1 sounds like a rifle. Okay, let's see. So welcome to the Facebook folks that have popped in on the Streaming Idiots group. Sorry, we can't see your comments. Actually, we could see your comments. Why don't we pull up a Facebook page so that we can see those commentes? Streaming Idiots. There we go. There we go. This video is now live. Okay. So we can periodically pop in and watch that. There we go. Living Waters says it's Apple, so no. Well, there you go. I mean, if it's Windows, vMix is all over it. All right, Rich says, hey, Tom, that new build that you posted, is that single CPU or multi-CPU? It is single. Single CPU, 18 core. 18 core. 36 threads. Holy cow. But it's intended for the new vMix 24 as a 8-camera instant replay beast. So that's why we're building it, to see what's good and what's going. There you go. Dave says it's an Apple product. Thank you, Dave. There's Eugene Kenny. Good to see you, sir, or good to see your words. Yes, thank you. I'm glad to be up and running. I think I am 100%. Well, just a little lingering cough every now and then. Hello, Clint. Welcome from sunny Kentucky, the bluegrass state. Have you done or know of anyone with a multi-CPU build? No. Nope. I know you can get some, like some HP servers. You can generally pick those up off of eBay or other places used that'll have dual Xeons. Daniel says the M1 is also based on ARM, not x86. Well, thank you, Daniel. Yes, indeedy. I have made a change since last week to this setup, and before I say anything about it, I wanted to see if anybody would notice. So as we approach countdown, we got 4, is it 4 minutes? Oh, that clock across the room is wrong. 4 minutes. Welcome, Tim. Glad to have you. Yeah, if you guys can tell what the change is to the setup today. Living Water says, yes, I like the pics. Oh, you're talking about these right here? Nope, that was the same last week. That was the same last week. And I like the black background and the white letters because it doesn't tend to reflect as much on my glasses. You can see a little bit of reflection right here, and that's from this monitor, which has got vMix Social popped up on it. But if I reduce that down, you see it takes away most of that, and then what you see is just a little bit of reflection here from the vMix page right there. But Dave says I've added fuzziness. Well, I tried not to. There's a new brick in the wall. All right. Actually, there's one missing. I noticed that earlier. Right there. Yeah. Jim says he's got several Dell multi-CPU systems. There you go. Good answer. Thank you for sharing, Jim. Yeah, let's just pop that chat back up for just a second. You can see how it just washed me with a little bit of light there. Take it out, and it affected that whole side. Isn't that interesting? Wow. Boom, there it is. Goodness. Frank said he was half joking. You guys think the future of streaming is Mac because of the new M1 chip? I think the future of streaming is software. And whatever hardware will be taken to run it. Now, that's certainly, if it turns out to be a real powerhouse, that'll be good for Wirecast. But we'll see. Okay, what I did differently was, since nobody's going to take the bait, I played with my lighting. And I had a light here, right up there. And I had a light, and still do, right there. And then I had one way up there. Well, not way up there, but probably at a less than 45-degree angle. And that one was giving me, big, and I put an umbrella over it, and that just made it bigger. So I was watching, what is that morning live stream about live streaming and all that stuff? Welcome USA BMX. Is that George? And I was paying attention to Alex, and he just happened to talk about his lighting and how he had a couple of lights that were firing into a reflector. And so it was the reflector that was sort of bathing him in light. And I thought, well, and he wears glasses. And I noticed he always kind of keeps his head slightly down, this would be even right here. And I think he's just a hair down, as if he's trying to avoid some reflection. And I thought, well, I don't have all the stuff. But office hours, thank you, Dave. Yes, if it's highly recommended. You can find it on YouTube. It runs anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours, depending on what they do. I think they do it every day of the week. And it's sort of a rambling conversation with 20 or 30 production professionals. Anyway, I said, I bet I can duplicate that. I don't have a reflector, but I'm just going to take one of my lights and just shoot it way up to the top of the stand, and you can see it right up there. Yep, there it is. But and there it is right there also. But when I bring my glasses down to that level, that light goes away. I'm so excited. So now I have to go fix other stuff. There you go. George set up a new stream called the USA Fishing X. Oh, no, not George. Jorgle. Gorgle? Rich, you'll have to tell us some more about that. Welcome, Otis. Okay, let's get everything organized here. See where we are. Maybe it's George L. Where are we there? We're there. We're good there. Okay. Are we good there? Yeah, we're good there. Are we good there? We're good there. All right. I think this is going to be good. This is going to be fun. Oh, Bruce Richardson's watching. And Kaylee's watching. All right. Hello, Kaylee. Kaylee is my, I was going to say my newest daughter-in-law, but she's not my newest daughter-in-law anymore. But she's not my oldest either. She's right in the middle, but married to the youngest son. So go figure that one out. Yeah. All right. So let's get this show on the road. Mike is here. Welcome. And George is thinking about doing a live tournament show. Okay, so I think we're up on all the latest gossip. All right, so let's hit the go button here and take a swig of lemonade. We're back on lemonade this week. Can you tell I'm wearing makeup? Oh. Okay, here we go. Getting ready, getting set. Here we go. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What can I say? What can I say? Hey, I'm Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiot. So glad you're here. You've arrived at the end of the internet. No, you can't go any further. It ends right here. It's just, this is the end of it. And that's why it's like thousands of people started on the journey, but no, I'm teasing. No, we're so glad you're here today. Today we're going to be talking about audio and how we do audio here on the Streaming Idiot show. We're in our third iteration. Is that the right word? Our third try, our third version of audio here at Streaming Idiots, and we'll get to that in just a second. I think you'll be interested. It's a fun story, and it's a pretty cool setup because it's so simple. That is the key. Anyway. Just an update on a couple of projects that we're working on here on the Workbench. One is a while back, we purchased a large number of portable PCs. And these are what would be described as lunch boxes. I think akin to the vMix Go, if you ever saw the vMix Go. And we bought them because we wanted the cases. We didn't care about the innards. And so we've been basically de-gutifying them. How about that for a technical term? And then rebuilding them, new power supply, new motherboard, new CPU, blah, 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 blah. And then all of the exterior cladding on this beast comes off. And so we send it out and have it powder coated after we kind of clean it up. And, you wouldn't believe the dents in this equipment. I mean, they were just like dents, like somebody had hit it with a hammer or a forklift or something. Who knows? These guys had been abused, but that's okay. We didn't care about the guts. Turns out the guts were great. It was a fourth generation i7. And so I've been playing on the side, kind of nights and weekends, with the motherboard and the CPU and the cooler and the RAM. And said, okay, can I get it to fire to the BIOS? And all of them did. And I thought, oh, this is cool. Well, let's put a little, and I did have to add a video card, just because I didn't trust the video card that came with it. It was a Zotac GT610, which is an NVIDIA chipset, but below the vMix spec. I think the 750 is like the absolute lowest, and that was years ago, and now it's the 1050 and probably will be the 2050 or whatever. Anyway, it was way below vMix spec, and so I just popped a 1050 in there just to see. And I said, well, and the case was built with two drives, a 500 gig hard drive and a 128 gig solid state SATA drive. And I said, but it booted off the hard drive, which I thought was really odd. Why would it boot off? Why not put all your stuff on the fast drive? Anyway, that's a story for another time. So I said, well, let's see if we can put Windows on the 128 gig and make something of this guy. And Windows installed perfectly. And then we formatted and erased the 500 to make it the data drive and set it up. And it's a nice little setup. So I think what we're going to do is put those in some small, inexpensive cases, and make those available just at cost to any churches that are really, really, really on a budget and want to do live streaming. Now, if we have to add a capture card or something like that, obviously there'll be a cost to that. But there are lots of capture cards out there on eBay. Somebody could buy one of these systems and add their own capture card. So if if your church, or if you know of a church that's interested in probably a sub-1,000 PC, then let's talk. Yeah, shoot me an email, Tom at streamingidiots.com, or Tom at easternshorebroadcasting.com. Either one will work. The other project that we're working on, vMix 24, might be out by Christmas. Those vMix guys, they've got a way of doing kind of Christmassy kind of things. In fact, they should have a vMix Fun Time live show scheduled for sometime soon. I'll have to check that. Thank you, Tim. It was iteration. Thank you very much. So vMix 24, the big deal is they've rewritten the vMix Instant Replay. I won't say rewritten, but they've really stretched it. They've polished it. They hadn't paid a whole lot of attention to it since they wrote it originally years ago. And now they've circled back around to it and said, let's really get serious about it, because a lot of people are using it. And so the big change was they expanded it from 4 cameras to 8 cameras, and from an AB connected input to the PC to still A and B, but they can be disconnected and used separately. So in the live streaming world, or excuse me, in the replay world, those are pretty amazing things. And they added the number of bins where you can keep clips from, I think, 8 to 20, and the ability to name things, and just lots of polishes to the software. But the big deal is with vMix 24, which we are hoping will be out by Christmas, the big deal is that 8 cameras just requires a lot of heavy lifting, both on the GPU side and, from the replay sense, on the CPU side. I think it was 2 vMix Funtime live shows ago, Martin Sinclair said, and I would love to have the quote so we could quote him right here, but he did say that it would require a super CPU, something like an 18 core. Well, I just happened to find an 18 core on sale, so I bought it. This is the i9, what was it, the 10980 or 10890 or something like that. No, it was probably the 10980. Anyway, it's 18 core, 36 thread. And I said, that'll be the base of it. And it's an LGA 2066, I think. Don't quote me on that. Might be a 2011. Anyway, it's a larger socket for the chip, and so not all the motherboards have that. So we had to get an X299 motherboard that it would fit. And so we got the motherboard for it, and then we got a GTX 2080 Ti graphics card. I was going to try to get the 3080, but it's like, who's got an extra $10,000 lying around and wants to spend it on a graphics card? So we got a 2080 Ti, and we got it all put together in what we call our breadboard build. Breadboard is where we build it outside of the box. So we've got a chance to tinker with everything. If something's not right, we don't have to take everything apart to replace an M.2 CPU, solid state drive or something like that. But so we completed the breadboard build, and it just fires off like any PC. We haven't put any stress on it yet. So the next step is to add 8 ports. Well, we haven't figured out exactly how we're going to do that yet. We may add 4 ports of SDI video and then 4 ports of NDI video, so that we can really test out the CPU GPU combination there, and then do some instant replay with it. So hopefully by next week we will have gotten to the point where we've done that and can give you a little report on that. But that's those are the two projects that we've got going on on the Workbench right now, in addition to the PCs that we're building for customers. So fun times, fun times. But let's talk a little bit about how we're doing audio here at Streaming Idiots. So you want to bookmark this, because this is where the audio part starts at 11 minutes after the hour. So that would be about a 10 or 11 minute introduction. The system today, let me just give you a rundown on the system. The system today is one I built a while back, probably I guess a year ago. It's based on an i7 8700K. It's not overclocked in any way. I think it's running on air, 16 gigs of RAM, a solid state M.2 500 gig solid state drive, and all the cameras are either USB, like the Logitech C920, or NDI, like the BirdDog P100 that I'm using right here. And for just having it put a bunch of capture cards in it. Actually, there is a Blackmagic 4K card in it, but we're not using it right this minute, excuse me. So that's the basic CPU. I've got a couple monitors in front of me. And then the microphone is, I really like this mic. In fact, I've got several now in the studio. It's the Audio-Technica AT897. It is a shotgun mic, a condenser mic, phantom powered. And, excuse me. Must be time for a swig of lemonade. Yes, good old lemonade. So it is the AT897. Really like it. I think it's got a lot of good things going for it. It's pretty sensitive, so it tends to pick up, just about anything, but it is a condenser mic, and that's the nature of condenser microphones. And it is running into a Behringer, or a Behringer, depending on how you want to pronounce it, UMC404HD. Well, that's not a mixer. That's an audio interface. And this is the third version of this setup that we've used. I don't think all of them have been used with this mic, but I've been using this mic for years, so it probably was, it may have been. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the UMC404 in just a second, but we started out with, and I think I've got some pictures here. So let's see. We started out with, here we go. Started out with this little guy. This is the Alesis Multimix. Now, I think this is the 8-channel version, and I think we had a 4-channel. I couldn't find a picture online of the 4-channel, but this is the old light blue and the silver one. It's USB, and it was the very first USB mixer that I'd ever had. In fact, it was the very first mixer that I had, and I bought it off of eBay, and I didn't know enough to know anything, and I didn't realize it had USB, and so, man, I was running cables all different ways, and finally discovered it had USB, and life got a lot simpler after that. And I really liked it, and I'm not sure why I got rid of it, but I ended up I gave it to my son, Jordan, and who still uses it to this day. He plays music on the side, and so he uses it as his soundboard for his gigs. He's got one of those nice Bose setups, and then the Alesis. So anyway, that was the mixer that we started out with. I think I got it for less than $100, and it was a good deal, and it got me started. I didn't know anything. I knew nothing about audio, about sound. And I broke every rule and had things backfeeding into each other and jumping, trying to jump sound to sound. And this was back in the VidBlaster days, and VidBlaster didn't always like audio that much anyway, because it was a video program. But it was a great learning experience, wasn't expensive, and is still doing well to this day. But I decided to replace it with the Behringer X1204 USB mixer. And I really, really like this mixer. I thought it was pretty cool. It had effects, which of course I never used, and it had a couple of output channels, auxiliary outputs, which I found out thanks to some good friends that those are pretty helpful in establishing what's called a mix minus, which took me forever to figure out what a mix minus was. Had too many buttons on it, really. Had all sorts of buttons, and frankly, they were buttons that I didn't know what they did, but if I put them in the wrong position, then things didn't work. It was very similar, as you can see, in a lot of ways, to the Alesis. Probably the biggest functional difference was that the USB was hard for me to manage. I won't say it was impossible for anybody, but the Alesis would give me return audio from the PC that did not include the audio that the Alesis was sending to the PC. So it was probably something I did. Anyway, I had difficulty with this mixer, the Behringer. And then that, kind of that miracle day when I started paying attention to the vMix Fun Time live show, and they were saying that they were using this little guy, the Behringer UMC404HD. And it's not a mixer. As you can see, it's kind of radically different in its look. It has 4 XLR or 1/4-inch inputs, so it'll work for mics or instruments. And then you can see all sorts of knobs there on the front. In fact, yeah, we'll show you the whole shooting match in just a second. But a couple of big differences for me on that one was, number one, it was USB powered. So it didn't require me to plug it in to the wall, which was really important because, with monitors and all the other gear, PCs and mixers and what have you, you can run out of outlets pretty quickly. And in that particular situation, I was plumb out and was daisy chaining those little whatever you call those little guys. Anyway, that's not the point. And so it was nice to have a device that, hey, was just USB powered, and in fact has been plugged into my PC for probably 3 or 4 years. And the PC stays on all the time because I'm getting access to it remotely. And so the Behringer UMC404HD stays plugged in all the time. It has phantom power, so it can power my ATR 897. So it stays active the whole time. So actually I can remote into my studio and listen to see if somebody's banging around in here. But what I liked about it the best was, and in fact, let me pop up. I think I've got here's a shot. This is a live shot of the mixer right now. And you can see that the first 2 channels are plugged in. And you can see that the little light keeps flashing on that channel 1 gain. And that's just to tell us that there's audio present. That bottom light, there's a light above it that's the clip light. I think I can make it. Yeah, there you go. It'll clip with a clap. But the beauty of this little guy is that it will allow the audio to come in over USB, but not as a it will allow 4 different sentences hit my tongue at the same time. It will function as a traditional Windows device. And I think the way it does it is it sends out channels 1 and 2 as a pair, so it's stereo, as one Windows device, and channels 3 and 4 as a pair as a second Windows device. So you can pick those 2 up in any software where you're looking for a microphone. But I wanted to have 1 and 2 split up because I've got this station right here with the faux brick background, And then I've got the green screen studio right there. Same model mic in both places, both of them on booms. But I wanted the ability to mute those and to provide any effects or whatever to each mic separately. And with 4 mics, or the ability to go up to 4 mics, I wanted to be able to have each one of those as an individual input in vMix, so that I would have, you know, up to four mic input. Now there's a Behringer, I think it's a UMC404HD or something like that, that will take a lot more mics, but I only perceive that I would probably need 4 for the foreseeable future. And you know, that's been a good choice. It's fit me well with the UMC404HD. I think the cost when I got it on sale, it was $99. Now it's $170, but I think it's still a supreme value at $170. There are other versions of the 404HD. I mean, there's the 1820, but there's also a 204HD, a 202HD, a 22, and a UM2. Excuse me. And they're all, you know, varying fewer and fewer features as you work your way down. The UM2, for example, I think has a single combination XLR 1/4" input, and the 204 and the 202 have 2 each, and I guess the 4s and 2s have to do with their outputs. So if you're looking for a single person, a way to get your mic into your PC, just one person, and you want to use something like the Audio-Technica ATR-897, which I'll give it a double thumbs up, then something like the the UM2 for less than $50 if you shop it will be a good place to start. Now, it doesn't have a lot of effects, it doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles, but basically all you want is something that's going to get the audio from your mic into your PC so that you can do with what you want to with it in vMix. Now that I have my audio in vMix, let me do a desktop capture here so you can see what we've got here. What I want you to pay attention to is this window right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and drag it up into the infinity spot right there so that you're not too distracted. But this is the mic. This is the desk AT897 as opposed to the boom AT897, which is over there. You can see the pre-effect in the light blue, the bouncing pre-effect. That basically is what vMix is hearing from the Behringer. And then you can see the post effect. There's a slight amount of delay, 50 milliseconds of delay. And the green one tells you, of course, it's live. There's no gain added, and I'm not using the automatic gain control. The automatic gain control, I think, is a quagmire and can do things you don't intend. I think I'm using some EQ. Let's see. Yeah, I've got the EQ just boosting some of the lows a little bit so that my voice sounds fuller and richer. Not using the compressor, not using the noise gate. And coming back up here to plugins, I am using the NS1 stereo, which is a noise suppressor. And let's go ahead and we'll just bring this right up here. And I could have this parked on my desktop if I wanted to. So you can see it's got a little slider right here. And it says, how much noise do you want to get rid of? You want to get rid of 0? I don't know if you can tell when I drop it down to 0, if you can hear the servers that are just over here to my right. They're behind a, I would call it a curtain made out of a big, thick moving blanket. And then over here to my left is the door, exterior door to this studio, and a small highway on the other side of that. And let's see if we hear a car. You hear the car? I hear the car. It bothers me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this guy up to about 50, and you can see the bar graph on the left is taking out that much noise. So if I stop talking for a second, it's the server noise that should be disappearing, and then any traffic noise. Now this is the NS1 noise suppressor from Waves Audio, and it is a VST3 plugin, which vMix will take. You can get it. I think you can get it on sale for sometimes 20 or 30 bucks. I think normally it's more than that. But Waves is always putting these things on sale, and in fact, you can get a free trial of it to see if it will work with you. And it couldn't be simpler. It's just a matter of drawing that little drawbar up and down, up and down. In fact, if I hover over it, I can just use the wheel on my mouse to set it. So let's get it right there, and then we'll make it go away. And then we will close this out, and we will go back to the main shot here. So that's essentially how we do the audio here. Oh, there is the issue of return audio to me. And that was a little tricky until I realized how this mixer worked. Let me flick a copy of the mixer up here so you can see. In fact, let's sharpen that just a little bit so that it will be a little clearer. Oops, not mirror it, sharpen it. There we go. A little bit of sharpen. So if you look in the top right-hand corner, obviously the top section is the front panel and the bottom section is the back panel. And if you look at the back panel, you can see, wow, there's all sorts of stuff going on over there. Left to right, you've got power and then USB, you've got MIDI, you've got a lock, you've got your phantom controls, you've got some playback outputs, which are either 1/4 inch or RCA jacks, and they're paired up, obviously, left and right. Stereo or all four individually. And then you've got the main outs, so you've got just a left and right 1/4 inch and then a left and right XLR, and then you've got the inserts, one for each of your channels, so that you can send out audio for processing. That's the back panel, but really it's the top right hand section of the front panel that I want to draw your attention to. In the top right corner, you can see where it says phones, and then right below that, headphones. And so I've got a 1/4 inch jack plugged in there, and then I'm reducing that down to 3.5 millimeters so I can just plug in some earbuds. Nothing fancy there. But the knobs, the phone knob obviously is phone knob volume. And then to the left of that is the mix knob. And that, I think, is the secret to my success. The mix knob allows me in my ear to hear both all the audio that's generated in the studio. Is that thing on? In the audio coming from the Behringer, I can hear the Behringer audio, and I can hear the return audio over USB from vMix. Now in vMix, I've got the Behringer, well, and I'll show you that in just a second. And the mix knob allows me to adjust the balance kind of between the two. I can go all the way to one way and it'll be just all Behringer, go all the way the other way and it'll be just all coming from the PC. And that for me was really the big selling point. And that's the ability to do the mix. And that allows me to hear what's going on with vMix and what's going on in the live show. So let's see. Let's go back to the webcam. And the webcam version, and hang on for just a second, we're going to reposition the webcam a little closer there. And you can see I've got the mix slightly more to the right. The main output is set all the way up. One of the things I've noticed about Behringers is they tend to be a little low on volume. You notice that the gain in channel 1 is cranked up almost all the way. And then you can see the headphone jack in the bottom right-hand corner, the adapter, and that's actually going to a splitter so that I can have two 3.5 millimeter outputs, one for this station right here, and then one for the studio section across the way. Let's see. Dave says that the UM2 and the 22 are not in the same league with the UMC series. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. Let's see. So we got inputs. Oh, we were going to talk about, yeah. So let's go back to our desktop capture for just a second. And what we want to do here is we want to go into settings, top right-hand corner. And then let's go ahead and just drag the settings over here so that it doesn't confuse us with all that infinity look. And then we'll look at audio outputs. And what we've done here is we've sent our headphones. This is the headphone audio in vMix. We've sent it out to the Behringer UMC404HD, and this is actually the Windows driver. So we're using the Windows driver in this case. There is a, there it is right there, the ASIO driver, where we could send it out, and then we can pick the channels that we want. Picking channels 1 and 2 with the ASIO driver is the same as essentially doing the outs on the Behringer right here. So no big deal right there. It looks like I've got something going out. Speakers too, huh? That's probably left over from another project. Anyway, so that would be, and then of course, you can take any of your inputs. We'll take the desk ATR 897, and you can see I've turned off the headphones for that entirely. And the reason I've turned that off is because with the Behringer, let's drag that there. With the Behringer, I am hearing with zero latency my own voice because I'm hearing the audio from the mic to the Behringer out the headphones to my ear. Never goes through the PC. In vMix with headphones, if I hear if I want to hear my own audio, that is the audio here in this desk AT897, to turn that on is going to add a delay of at least 50 milliseconds and probably a tad more, so that I get that annoying following audio of myself, which will drive me crazy. I mean, I'm halfway there already, so it doesn't take a lot to push me over the edge on that one. So basically, I've turned my own voice off in what essentially would be going from the Behringer to the PC in vMix and then back to the Behringer again. Don't want that latency. I'm just going to listen to my voice as it appears on the Behringer. What I lose in this is I lose anything that might be happening in that chain that goes from the Behringer to the PC to vMix back to the Behringer. If there's a problem there, I won't hear it because I'm listening to the Behringer directly. And so, you know, sometimes when I think about it, if it's a big deal, I'll make a pre-recording, or I'll just make a test recording rather, before a broadcast, in order to make sure that my audio sounds as good in the recording as it does to me in my ear, which of course doesn't go through all the processing that the recording would. So turning off my own audio in my ear keeps me from having that annoying following echo. And in this case, it would be hearing myself live instantaneously from the Behringer, and then this right here would follow on. You know, it says 50 milliseconds, but I think there's really some extra processing. So, maybe a quarter to a third of a second later, I would hear my own audio again. And as you're talking long term and just babbling away, it drive you crazy. Anyway, so if you're having an echo problem, consider that it could be one of these sources. All right, so let's close that out. Let's go back to this guy right here. There we go. And let's turn that back on. So that and Daniel says you can remove the mic from the headphones in the channel matrix. That's another way of doing it. Yep, if you're a matrix kind of guy. So that is how we do the setup here at Streaming Idiots. We're using the Audio-Technica 897 condenser mic. It's going into a Behringer UMC404HD. It is then connected via USB to the PC, and it's powering. So the USB is powering the Behringer and the microphone. And in this case, it's powering two mics because we have two that are exactly the same. And it works for me. Now, I had a client one time. They weren't a client at the time. They became a client, and somebody had recommended all this gear to work with vMix and the PC and a microphone and a mixer and they were going to help them get it all set up and put together. And then this person, the client's person, disappeared. And I think they spec'd all this stuff, and then they realized it wasn't going to work. And they spec'd, and this is probably a perfectly fine piece of gear, but it was the Rode Podcaster or Broadcaster or something like that has a lot of features built into it, automatic mix minus and all these kinds of things for podcasting, but isn't helpful. And in fact had to be defeated in order to make it work with vMix and vMix Call, because vMix Call does its own mix minus. So essentially we said, save yourself some money, send that back, get the 202 version of the UMC, and let's bring it into vMix and simplify your setup. Audio is hard enough because you can't see it, so you don't know where it's going. If it shows up twice, where did it show up from the second time? If it doesn't show up at all, where did it go? Video, at least you've got some ideas. But audio is hard enough without adding some extra layers of complexity. And again, I was dealing with a novice. I said, let's keep it really, really simple, because that's all I understand about audio is really, really simple. But the key, I think, long term, and anybody that does audio professionally will tell you, you really want to keep it as simple as you possibly can, because if it breaks, it's easier to find and fix the problem than if it's very, very complicated. So that's it. So the Behringer UMC404HD gets a big thumbs up from me, as does the Audio-Technica 897, as of course does vMix. We dearly, dearly love vMix. And all the folks at vMix, we do too. Today's show would not be complete without mentioning, of course, that we're using the X-Keys XK80 to push all the buttons, except the ones that have triggers. So I guess they push themselves, but that's okay. Big shout out to Miranda and Maggie on that one. Maggie, hope you're feeling better. And I guess that's it for the show. Stay tuned in coming weeks as we go through our project, the little kind of repurposing build of used gear into really good stuff. And then, of course, our adventure with an 18-core CPU and vMix 24. We'll keep you up to date on those. If I can help you in any way, I'd be happy to. Let's see, can we turn the lower third back on? There you go. Oh, and I turned off the URL. Oh, golly, what if I push that button again? Will that do it? There it is. Yeah, easternshorebroadcasting.com. There's a contact form there. Love to have you send me a note. If you're watching us on YouTube, we'd love to have you subscribe and get notified, because we do schedule our YouTube broadcasts in advance. If you're not a member of our Facebook group called Streaming Idiots, yeah, there it is right there. we hope you'll join Streaming Idiots. It's a great community, about 4,000 folks. Well, it's probably not 4,000 anymore. You know how people join and then they fade off. I think the last time I checked, it was like 3,300 that were still active. So that's pretty good. But there's always a conversation going on about all forms of live streaming, pretty much 27. It tends to be a little vMix centric, but OBS and Wirecast folks, in fact, TriCaster folks are present there too. So that's the deal. We'd love to have you tune in next week. That's what we love. But we'd also love to hang around for the post show, where we'll be taking some questions and chattering some more. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we will see you next week. Well, there we go. That is the audio setup. It's kind of funny. I started out with stuff I didn't know anything about, the Alesis. Thought I was improving when I moved to the Behringer, but I think really I was just trading one for another. And then it was definite improvement by actually removing features to go to the UMC404HD. And it was definitely the right choice. Dave, thank you for your comment on the UM2 and the 222. I've been meaning to get one of those and bring it in and test it and see just how it worked. Is that Giles there? Automation for vMix? Welcome, sir. Otis likes the auto gain control. Otis, why in the world do you like the auto gain control? Well, let me tell you why I don't like it, and then you can tell me why you do like it. I had one bad experience with it. I turned it on, I think by accident, and what happened, and this may have been at church, I don't remember, but the mics were silent. Churches, things get silent for a minute, silent prayer or whatever, and all of a sudden, the audio level kept increasing of all the white noise and just, kind of general background noise as the auto gain control tried to find something to put gain with. and the gain just popped out. And so I never used it again after that. So that was my not liking it. Oh, it's Gunnar that's automation for vMix. Hey, Gunnar, glad you're here. So Daniel says that fan noise present. Daniel, was that comment made when we turned the NS1 off? Is that when you could hear the fan noise? I think that's the way when I was testing it. That's the way I heard it. Let's see. Daniel also says you can remove the mic from the headphones in the channel matrix. Channel matrix. Oh yeah, that's right. Channel matrix for sure. Dave says that there's preamp noise in the 22. Was it the 22? Let's see. Let's go back to here. Where is it? vMix Social. In the UM2 and the 22. Gotcha. No, you can't deal with that. Can't deal with preamp. Daniel says yes. It was fan noise present when the filter was turned off. And I don't have super hearing or the ability to really understand the finer points of what I'm hearing, but I did figure out that the NS1, that I didn't lose a lot at 50%. In fact, I didn't feel like I lost anything at 50% except the fan noise and the street noise. I don't know. Could you hear my neighbor say goodbye to her customer? She's a hairdresser, and so she was saying goodbye. And I could hear her here, but my guess is maybe you couldn't because the NS1 is filtering her out. Dave says using auto gain preamp noise. Aha. There we go. Jim Moline says, Tom, when can we talk on the phone? Well, Jim, I'm not answering the phone anymore. Actually, I just started answering it this week. When I was out with COVID, the phone was ringing. I mean, you know, it rings all the time anyway, but there was no way I was going to be able to help anybody. It's finally put up a message that said, hey, I've got COVID, you know, go to the website and send me an email and I can respond. But Jim, why don't we chat by phone right after the show today? I'll call you. I've got your number. How about that? There you go. So I'm a big fan of the NS1. I think it's a great value. I think it's a great value even at full price. And I think you can transfer the license to a different PC. So if you needed to, if you had, you know, two gig PCs and you never used them both at the same time, you could go back and forth between them, as you can with your vMix license. You can transfer your vMix license. You're allowed to have vMix installed and activated on two PCs simultaneously, with the understanding that they can't be used simultaneously. That is, one is the main PC and one is a backup. And what a lot of folks do, I find, is that they'll put it on their streaming PC, and they really don't have a backup streaming PC per se, but they'll also put it on their laptop so that they can kind of do some work on their streaming stuff, but not have to be at their streaming PC to do that. And I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So the vMix allows you to do two. I was talking to a customer the other day who had purchased one of our, I don't know that it was our first system. I think we'd been building systems for a little while, but he purchased one of our systems back in 2016, which of course means it's out of warranty now, because we only warranty them for 3 years, but 3 years is 3 years. Anyway, he had 3 licenses activated, and that was back before vMix was really kind of paying a whole lot of attention to this license thing. And I guess for the last 2 years they have. And he just hadn't made any changes in his setup in 2 years. And it was funny, one of the licenses was assigned to his laptop, and one of the licenses was assigned to the PC we built for him. And then one of the licenses was assigned to the PC we built for him, but a different date. And so what we did is we just went in and took out the 2 that were assigned to the PC. So that meant that he just had 1 license assigned, activated, and then he was able to activate again. He was updating from version 21 or 20 or something like that. Yeah, if you've got an older version of vMix, it's $60 to update. Yeah, you really ought to do it, because there are lots of great features. You won't lose your presets, you won't lose your settings, but some things have changed, which may mean things may not work exactly. You know, some of your scripts or some of your triggers or some other features may not work exactly like they did before. I say that just as kind of a catch-all. I don't know of anything specific, but I do know that Martin Sinclair, the developer of vMix, does really take the whole legacy concept very seriously. He doesn't want to have orphan customers, you know, partially because I think that's the right thing to do, and partially because I don't think he wants to deal with the tech support issues that might come of it. So he tries to make vMix as backward compatible as it possibly can be. I think that's one of the reasons why he's resisted a change on the interface, because, you know, the vMix gets a lot of criticism on its interface, but all the function is there. And in fact, there have been some people that have just basically built their own interface and then let it just kind of use vMix as the engine behind that, using the API. Excuse me, we have to get a slug of lemonade here. A double slug of lemonade. So there you have it. You know what? We could drop that light from the ceiling. I could drop that light from the ceiling. We got some work to do here in the studio. So there we go. What else did I miss in the All right. Reno Expert says, question, apologies for going off topic, but please could you advise if you might consider doing a show on the Bird Dog color matrix? Oh, yes. And the P camera color correction. And that's as far as he typed off the side of the page. So yeah, Bird Dog just released a new firmware for the P100, P200 yesterday that is supposed to clean up some of the mess that last week's P100, P200 firmware update created, which did introduce the color matrix. In fact, I used the color matrix on the old version before the show today to get my blue shirt looking like the color it really is. And I was able to take it. It's really cool. Can I show it to you? Can I show it to you? Let's see. Can I show it to you? Do we have it up? Yes, we've got it right here. All right, so let's do a screen capture, and then I'll bring this in and just cover up everything. We can bring it in like that. Yeah, there we go. This is the color. This is the color matrix. And basically, when I came in this morning, the blue gain and the blue hue were all the way down. And notice what that did right there. So I brought the gain up, I brought the hue up, and that made my shirt the color it is today. Yes. All right. So there we go. Let's see, there was another question or comment from Dave saying, why do you have the gain turned up on inputs 3 and 4, just potentially adding extra noise? You know, Dave, I think I was testing some things in there and just forgot to turn them down. That's a good point. Down they go. There we go. But probably doesn't add anything because those channels are not in vMix as inputs. So I think they would have to be added as an input in vMix to get any audio out of them. Unless there was some sort of, sideways transfer from channel to channel. But good comment. I appreciate the thought. Let's see. Rich thinks I'm using too much eyeliner. That's not the kind of makeup I was talking about. Actually, what I had was a big glaring spot right here, big blowout from the light. And so I put a little powder there. And, it's kind of like, well, if I put a little powder there, I could put a little powder here and a little powder here. And maybe a little on my nose, and before you know it, I was just all powdered up. You might be able to see it. Can you see it? Or is that just natural? Is that just me naturally? I'm kind of a splotchy kind of guy. All right. Let's go back and see what else might have missed. No, it doesn't look like I missed much. All right, there we go. There we go. And Vitali is in the house. Welcome. Glad you're here. Let's see what else is going on. If you are in the market for a Christmas laptop for yourself or somebody else, I highly recommend the Microsoft Surface. I got this, I think about maybe a year and a half ago. I don't remember exactly. And essentially, it's a tablet with a, let's go full screen here so we've got a little bit more real estate. There we go. Essentially, it's a tablet with a, a Bluetooth keyboard. And, it's a full-size tablet, but I never, and it's got super magnets, by the way, that make it fit together. I always use it as a traditional laptop. It's got a nice little fold-out stand right there. I use it with a Bluetooth mouse. It's great. It's probably the most versatile laptop I've ever owned. And yes, I have used it for streaming. And no, it doesn't have an NVIDIA graphics card in it. It's got, Intel 230 graphics or whatever it is. So recommend the Microsoft Surface Pro if you're looking for a laptop. I think they were on sale sub $600. My only gripe is that it comes with a solid state drive that is soldered to the motherboard, so there's no upgrading it. I did see somebody was just playing around and said, this is what it would take to upgrade it, and had all these tools that were needed to pry everything apart and desolder this and desolder that. Ooh, sorry. And I could tell it was not going to be worth the trouble. Not worth the trouble. But it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch and fun to know. So definitely highly recommend the Microsoft Surface Professional. And it's fun to get to find these kind of solutions to problems that are just end up being really good solutions. And I've had, I don't know how many Dell laptops. The one before this was one that I had rebuilt countless times, probably put one or more motherboards in it, one or more keyboards in it. I don't know how many different drives. I think, I even upgraded the CPU in that laptop. It was an AMD CPU, and apparently it wasn't the fastest of the ones in that particular, chipset and socket set. And so I found one used that was faster and took it all apart and put that in there. And I don't know that there was any noticeable difference, but you never know. And I think I replaced the platter drive with a solid state drive at one point, SATA, and did all the improvements that I could to it, but it still was just a little poke along, dual core CPU. Wasn't going to go very far. But this guy's just a dream. Does everything I want. Can pop it out any place, hook it up to my cell phone as a tethering it as a modem, and it works beautifully. Welcome, Provision 22. Glad to have you. We're in post-show here today. Sorry, should have the post-show. There we go. There's the post-show. Let's see. COC Gamer says, I have a 128 gigabyte micro and a Samsung, is that T5 for additional storage. There you go. I just use Dropbox. Anything that's big, I throw it in Dropbox, and then I tell the Pro, don't... You can know it's there, but don't keep it on your drive. So it was a good solution to a problem. It's nice to find good solutions to the problem. Actually, a solution to a problem for me recently, last February, was a car to replace my 2009 Honda Odyssey with 206,000 miles on it. I thought, 206,000, it's probably getting close to the end of its life, maybe. And so, this was February of 2020, so I upgraded to a 2014 model Ford Escape, 2014 Ford Escape. So I bought I traded my 11-year-old car for a 6-year-old car. But it's really nice. It's almost big enough for everything I need but I love the fact that it has, keyless entry and keyless start and some other little features like that that are really, really, really kind of cool. But it's not a real big car. It's a small car. And so it fits in lots of places that big cars won't fit. And so I really, really like that. Got the 2.0 turbocharged engine, what they call the EcoBoost, and got a great deal on it. So yeah, it was funny because somebody had traded it. They put new tires on it. Had about 70,000 miles on it when I bought it, and they put new tires on it, but the car pulled badly to the right, and the dealer said, yeah, we'll get that fixed. If you want to buy the car, we'll get that fixed. And I said, okay, we'll go ahead and get it fixed, and then I'll come back and drive it and see. So they aligned it, and then I came back and drove it, and didn't have to go 50 feet to realize that they had not fixed the problem. And that was kind of funny, I thought. And I said, well, you guys you need to find and fix the problem. Whatever the problem is, you need to find it and fix it. And so the salesman called me back either later that same day or first thing the next day and said, we found the problem. The previous owner, when they put on 4 new tires, 3 of them were one size and the front right was a different size tire. Same brand, same model, same everything, just slightly smaller. And they said, so we're going to replace that tire and you'll be good to go. And I said, I don't think so. I don't want unmatching tires, 3 older ones and one newer one. I said, let's put 4 new ones on there and see how we can come out. And they said, oh, we can't possibly do that. And I said, of course you can. You don't want to, but you can. So talk to your boss and see what you can do. And I think they came back and they said, we'll do it for $100 a tire. And I thought that was pretty reasonable. No. They said was it, Sandy, if you're listening, was it $100 a tire or was it $100 total? Anyway, whatever it was, I thought it was a pretty good deal. So I was pleased and came out with a brand new set of tires and a 6-year-old car that looks like it's brand new. Same body. I think if it's not the same body style as the 2021, it's the same body style as the 2020 version, which was okay with me. And so far it's been no problem other than the battery. If you ever have to replace a battery on a newer version Escape, you have to take the car halfway apart in order to get to the battery because it's practically under the dashboard. But taking out a battery for somebody that builds PCs is a piece of cake, right? Right. All right, I'm looking at the chat here. OC Gamer says, I'd have took the Odyssey. LOL, my 2000 Expedition has more miles, has more airtime than a Hertz rental car. Oh, I'm sorry about that. That's no good. He says, drove that gas guzzling 5.5 Triton at all-wheel drive to Oregon to set up a studio in March. Oh my gosh. That was a commitment of gasoline. So anybody out there that owns Exxon stock, yeah, OC Gamer is your friend. Michael Graves says, I have the older version Mercury Mariner. They had kept that old body style. It was larger and had more reliable engine. Yeah, apparently this Ford EcoBoost has gotten a lot of criticism. In fact, just recently it's popped up in my news feed because somebody's trying to get a class action lawsuit against Ford on that one. So we all get new engines. Mariner equal Escape. Yep, got that. OC Gamer said it was $1,600 in gas round trip. Holy cow. All right, Provision 21 says, gospel TV operator and in Uganda and have been contacted to extend the station to another far region. All of this because of COVID-19 travel problems. Yes. Yes. Hey, Eric, glad to have you. Welcome. Provision 22, that is a common story. I hear that story frequently from people. And this is the one I hear, which is, we can't do church and we don't want to lose our church. So we have to do something. And these are people that have never streamed before. Had a call today from a church that has been streaming for years with a TriCaster, and they finally got tired of the TriCaster breaking on them and them having to send it back to TriCaster to get it fixed. It was probably an older machine. And so they want to talk about a vMix PC, and it's not an off-the-shelf PC per se, but it is common PC parts that make it up. You just have to know which ones are the right ones for streaming. And so they were delighted for that. So we'll see. OC Gamer Tom may not know who I am due to being shut down so long. We are now gaming and streaming so much we changed the channel name. This would be Vital Justice. I bet I do know. We'll see. Am I right? Well, Michael, I dearly love my new Escape, and I hope I got one of the good ones, because I'd like to continue to drive it. It's very nimble and easy to drive. It's not quite the interstate car that I would like, because it's kind of light. It doesn't have that kind of heavy presence on the road. But we use it in town everywhere we go. I'm going to be on the road Friday to, I guess, about an hour and a half trip, and I'll take it on that one. But I wouldn't take it to Tampa or Virginia or anything like that. I was right. Vital Justice. Very good. All right. Never forget a character. So there we go. We can talk about cars. We can talk about computers. We can talk about software. Or we can call it a day. Well, let's wrap her up. What do you say? We'll wrap her up. Appreciate you guys tuning in today. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I hope you did. And Vital Justice says he built a new computer in May. All right. Well, I built a new computer yesterday. Caribbean Christian Broadcasting says, still looking for PTZ Optics camera. Okay. Well, if somebody's if somebody is ready to upgrade their PTZ Optics camera to a Bird Dog P200, looks like we've got a potential buyer here. So you can contact me and I'll put you in contact with John, or whatever works for you guys. I can buy it. I can take it on trade from you and sell it to John at cost. I think we'll be good to go. Daniel says, I got my laptop back from warranty repair today. Oh, sorry about that. Provision says, sorry, it's an HP Z840. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Eric says, how's the i9 10980XE, Tom? It is, well, it's a screamer, obviously, because it's got all them cores. Got all them cores, as they say down here in Alabama. But I haven't tested it with vMix 24 yet. That'll be the test. I hope to be able to do that early next week and give you guys a report on it next Wednesday. We'll see. Clint says, I'm going to have to rewatch this episode. Lots of good audio info. Well, I hope it'll be helpful. I mean, it's not intended as an overview of audio or as a troubleshooting guide, but really just a review of what we currently use here and what we've used in the past. So if you want to follow that same roadmap, yeah. But I think for a talk show with up to 4 people, I think it's a good. The Behringer UMC404 is a good choice. course, the i9 10980E XE is always a good choice, no matter what you're doing. So there we go. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in today. And I hope to see you as many as can next week. And we will have a ton of fun again then. So thank you very much. We'll let you run out here with a little bit of music.